Welcome here to Papua New Guinea. I have got a really cool flight for you guys planned out today. We're gonna go try to find two crashed World War II airplanes. If you're new here, this is the Kodiak. I fly here in Papua New Guinea to some of the coolest remote bush locations. So I'm gonna get my plane ready. I have no passengers today. I've got like 50 kgs going back. So let's get the plane ready and get going on about an hour flight. This video has been sponsored by Incogni. So these two airplanes are B-24s or B-25s. I'm not really sure what the difference is. You guys can leave a comment down below what the difference is. But I do have the story on both of the crews on what actually happened. So one had a good ending and one did not. But we'll get into that once we get to the airplanes. Let's do a quick walk around. Take a look at all of our lights, make sure everything is working. So if you're not a pilot and you're not sure what I'm doing right now, every morning before I go fly, I make sure that my aircraft is in an airworthy condition as far as I can tell. Now, again, I'm not doing a 100-hour inspection. I'm checking some main components to make sure those main things that could potentially kill me are in good working condition. Make sure my inlet goes up to normal and bypass. I don't have any dead birds in there. Next, I check my tires, make sure that I don't have any gouges out of them. We do land on some pretty rough airstrips with some pretty sharp rocks. Make sure I don't have any leaks on my brakes. I check my control movements, make sure I'm hitting stop to stop on all my control movements. Checking to make sure all my VGs are all connected. All of my static wicks are here. Make sure that my rudder has full movement, side to side, stop to stop. Checking the belly of the aircraft, make sure that there's no damage to that. Make sure I don't have any scrapes on these. Make sure I didn't hit the back of the airplane on the ground and that they're connected good. Checking for any dents on my flaps. Rocks do sometimes flick up and hit those. Hasn't happened to me yet, but I know it's happened to other pilots. Inside the engine itself, I'm checking to make sure all my controls have full movement, stop to stop. Checking for any leaks that I didn't see yesterday. And making sure everything looks like it's supposed to be where it's supposed to be. Check my prop, make sure I haven't damaged any of it. Lastly, check my oil. Everything looks good. Let's get out of here. All right, let's go. Looks like it's about 190 miles back to home base for me this morning. It's already 30 degrees Celsius out at just 8:30 in the morning, so yeah, it is a warm and humid morning. Generator's on, amps jump up, start going back down, we'll go alternator on, let it do the same thing. And I'm gonna prop forward, make sure our energy doesn't drop below 52%. So on the first start of the day, I flip my generator on, things like that first. After that, everything's warmed up, I can just put my prop forward without it dropping the NG. Go back at 11,000, actually no, I filed for less than 5,000, I remember now. All stations, WW2, Kodiak November Tango Echo, taxiing runway 10 for departure Goroka. So this particular airstrip was actually built and used in World War II by the Japanese, and you guys can actually see bomb craters all along the sides of them. I'll leave a link down below if you guys are into World War history. There was actually a bombing raid that happened here, and they actually did a documentary. It's like 10 minutes long or something, and I've got a link to that. You guys can watch that if you guys are interested. It's pretty interesting because they actually have footage inside the aircraft when it's actually happening, so it just gives you just a completely different perspective. Before we get out to the plane, I wanted to ask you, did you know that your personal information is actually being sold online? There's actually been data brokers that have been caught and charged for intentionally supplying scammers with personal data of elderly people and vulnerable people. Personal information like your financial details, your social security number, your address, your phone number could be being sold to these scammers. But what do you do about it? It's almost impossible to track down on who has access to that information. I know someone personally who had to leave Papua New Guinea to go back to the United States because of identity theft. It cost him thousands of dollars, not to mention a year to a year and a half worth of added stress. Now, while you could ask data brokers to manually delete your information, that's gonna take hundreds of hours and manually requesting to do it repeatedly until it gets all the way done. That's where today's video sponsor, Incogni, comes in to help. Incogni reaches out to data brokers requesting your personal information be removed and handles any objections from their side. And the great thing is, the whole process is automated.
They also make sure your data stays off the market by completing repeated removals, taking down data if it pops up again. This is what makes the yearly subscription the best choice. Incogni offers a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not happy with their service. Take back your personal data today with Incogni and save 60% on the annual plan by using the link down below with my code BUSHPILOT. Thanks Incogni for sponsoring this video. All right, let's go find those planes.
Warsby 1267, November Tango Echo. All right, well, I will call again after departure. Unreadable, November Tango Echo. Both ways are clear. We're going to be 50 knots by the first 500 feet. We'll remain on the runway. After takeoff, we'll pitch for 85 knots, considering EPL, considering feather. We'll head to the old golf course or the beach, whatever's easiest. Then cut off, pull off, and shut off 85, 80 full flaps, emerge these masters, and crack my door. One last check for any lights on the approaches. And we'll just do an intersection departure because I am pretty much empty today. Overspeed check. 2070 plus or minus 50. Release it, and it goes above. Let's go. 1540. Okay, airspeed's alive, torque is set, there's 50, continue, and rotate. Lots of right rudder pressure right in that transition, and as we start kind of evening out, letting our nose down, I'll start releasing a little bit of right rudder pressure. Even though I have my right rudder just about as far, usually all the way over, as I can with my rudder trim. But take a look at that view down the coastline, man, that is beautiful. I'll turn my terrain awareness off initially, as we're going to be heading right over top of these, and we'll be staying below 5,000 on most of today's flight. Warsby 1267, November Tango Echo, departure.
November Tango Echo, ready to 5 now, go ahead.
Starting strength 3, November Tango Echo, departed WW2 for Goroka, 1 POB, at time 28. We'll be tracking up to 15 miles right of track, below 5,000, estimating a beam Tomo on the hour.
November Tango Echo, Air QNH 1009.
1009 or November Tango Echo. Now, this first B25 or B24, whatever it is, I think it might actually be a B24, and again, I'm not exactly sure what the difference is, crashed out here in a big, huge grass field. Oh wow, I've got 18 knots behind me, just starting to hit all these hills, and wasn't expecting that. We'll pull my prop on back, and we'll stay below these initial clouds right here on this ridge. We'll bring our prop to 2,000, and because we're below 5,000, I'm going to bring my fuel flow right here down to 320, and that's what I'm going to actually be flying off of, because that's what I did all of my planning on. But from what I've read on PacificRex.com, I will try to leave some links down below for both of these wrecks. They have a little bit of information on what went on, what caused them to wreck, what happened to the crews, things like that. So if you guys are interested, go click on those to get a better, more accurate story than maybe what I'm telling you. But from what I can remember from a couple years ago when I looked it up, this particular one,
500.
Thank you. Lost power to one of the engines and wasn't able to maintain altitude and had to land in a field out here. I don't know if it was damaged other ways or not, but they landed and the crew all lived, but then they were captured, taken up here to WW2, and then that's where their lives ended, us up there under captivity. So it's an unfortunate story for sure. And then from what I understand is the Americans came back and actually bombed the plane because I guess it had some vital stuff in the front of the plane that they didn't want surveillance or something like that they didn't want anything done with, or maybe the people that landed the plane bombed it, I'm not exactly sure. But the whole front of the airplane is gone, so it's just the tail that's left over. Also, I will track my flight today. I'll put this on my Patreon page, so if you're interested in flying us out on your own flight simulator, you guys can recreate this flight yourself and go see if you can see what you can see out here on your Microsoft Flight Sim or whatever it is. Just confirming our fuel flow is really close to 320, that's good. ITT's now down low. We're typically flying around 1,250 foot-pounds of torque, but because we're so low, well, that's going to be way lower. There's no sense in just wasting a bunch of extra fuel. Hey, let me see if I can find it. I don't remember exactly. I thought it was closer over to these trees over here, but it said that I'm heading directly towards it. So yeah, you can see the whole front is gone. There actually used to be trees growing in out of it, but now it's actually cleared out really well. You can see the tail of it, you can actually see the wings, the engines and everything, but the whole front is just completely gone. There you go. That's pretty cool. That's actually the best I think I've seen it in years. Years past, the grass has been just so high up that you could barely see much, and there was a tree growing out of the front of it. So, okay, on to the next plane. Let's get our flaps up, and let's just pop right above this little tiny cloud layer right here. I'm going to prop on back to 2,000 RPM. Mars B at 819 or November Tango Echo position.
November Tango Echo, motion.
November Tango Echo, a beam Tomo this time. Currently below 5,000. It will be on climb amid to 9,000. Estimating Goroka 49er.
November Tango Echo, confirm estimate Goroka 49er, and we still up to 100 miles on track.
We'll be tracking up to 10 miles left and right of track. Currently Tomo, a beam Tomo this time, and we'll be on climb 9,000. November Tango Echo.
November Tango Echo.
Okay, well, we're just 3 miles out. I know it's in this field. I've got it up on my screen now. We're about 30 minutes from the last airplane, if you're wondering how far the distance is between these two. I have not seen this plane in probably like 4 years at least, and I think that's the last time I showed you guys as well, because we used to go to a place out here, and we don't go to it anymore, Tomo. And this is still like on my almost direct track to Goroka. I usually just have passengers and I'm up high, and I never go low because it's kind of hot, humid, and uncomfortable. But I'm sweating today for you guys so you guys can see this cool plane. So if you guys enjoy these videos and you enjoy these planes, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Okay, I'm pretty sure I just pinned it last time I was out here, so I'm going to go off the pin here first and then go off of that. But man, there's a lot of growth here than I remember last time. I thought it was more kind of over that way, maybe over there, but this one, if I remember correctly, was just sitting out in the open more so. And it was basically the tail of the plane that was very noticeable. Going almost directly over it, but well, where is it? I know it's in this field here though. I know that over the years, they kind of fall apart and people take pieces off of them, you know, maybe to use for their houses and stuff, but yeah, I'm not seeing it today, even though this is right where it's supposed to be. Pretty sure it's a Japanese float plane, not 100% sure. I'm not a professional, so hey, if you know what this plane is, or you know of another website, I'm sure they're out there that's saying exactly what it is and everything like that, well then you can leave a link down below in a comment so other people can find your handiwork. I could have sworn it was like right there in the middle last time, but I am not seeing it today. I'll have to look in the other airplane to see if the coordinates are a little bit different, but yeah. Oh, well, I am so sorry. That's such a bummer. I do think I have some pictures. I know I have enough. Well, let's get our flaps and head on to Goroka. We're climbing up to 9,000 feet to crest the mountain to get into Goroka. We are now about 12.5 minutes out from my home base, Goroka. We're coming up to kind of the Goroka Gap. You can see there's just a lot of clouds out there, so I've got to figure out how to wiggle my way through and navigate so that I don't have to go up to my minimum safe, up to 14,000. I'm thinking I can see a track this way and a track this way. I'm coming up to the north Osaloka Gap, so as I'm looking over here, I'm seeing that way, but I'm not 100% seeing into the valley. And then we also have like kind of a track that's going out this way. I'm going to go this way because I think I can get to at least my gaps and then kind of figure out from there. You never know. So I'm never going to go in far enough to where I can't get back out safely. And I think I can probably wiggle my way through. Just looking at kind of the placement and how kind of broken and scattered they are, I should be able to just continue working my way through the clouds. Now my best option is not the North Asaro Gap, it's going to be the Osaloka Gap. Click on the screen, zoom up here, that's in about 10 miles up to that gap. So I really don't want to be wiggling my way through because it's not really enough cloud, there's not enough space, and I'm not guaranteed for sure going to make it over those gaps until I can see. Like, that is a for sure hard line, but I'm really just not even seeing that. I know that it's 9,000 feet, right about that I need to squeeze over the tops of those, and I'm at 11 right now. I like keeping my altitude so that I can look down. It's a lot easier to see down and then zoom down than to be at the level and have to climb back up. Another thing I do is, if I were to ever go inadvertent IMC, I like setting up my bug to the direction that I know is safe. So if I were to go inadvertent IMC, I can just immediately turn to that heading and start climbing, and that is what's gonna keep me a little bit safer. But what we can also do is just slow on down, give ourselves some time and space to think. We'll go 20 degrees of flaps. Looks like there's kind of a channel going up this way, so I'm going to continue on up that channel and keep looking for holes that I can just drop down into the valley. All I need is just one little hole, so. And again, I can go up to 14,000, but 14,000 is my minimum safe through here, so didn't really want to have to climb all the way up to 14,000. Hey, I'm seeing nicely into a valley. I don't know if it's that valley or that valley quite yet, but it is starting to open up the more and more I get in here. So I'm going to squeeze my nose in here, but I'm also going to just slow on down. I'm thinking I'm going to be right over top of this, and I can just head right down through there into the Goroka Valley, but we're going to slow way down to about 80 knots before I commit myself getting into something. Alright, yes, this is the valley I want. Let's go full flaps. Top is forward. We're just going to hug the edges of these clouds. Coming down. Okay, valley's opening up. I'm going to go 10 degrees or up to 20 degrees of flaps, start adding my power back in. Now that I've assured myself I'm safe in the valley I'm going after, I'll go 10 degrees of flaps. Add my power in. Goroka Tower, November Tango Echo.
November Tango Echo, Goroka Tower. Good morning, go ahead.
Good morning, November Tango Echo. Sorrow North this time, 9,500. Yours, circuit 5-1.
November Tango Echo, runway 35 right. Wind easterly at 8 knots, QNH 1021, temperature 19. Track and report left downwind.
1021, track report left down, 135 right, November Tango Echo. Let's go through our buddy check, our landing checklist. Our selectors are both on, our brakes are good, our train awareness we'll leave on for the time being. Our VREF, we're nearly empty, so we'll just come in at 70 knots today. Our lights and inlet, I've got my lights on. We'll throw our bypass on, our engine inlet. If we have to go around for any reason, it's power up, 20 degrees of flaps, straight ahead or maneuver is required, resetting top of the ITT. Pattern altitude, 6,100 feet. We can see right here our descent is pretty good. We're going to get there right about where we want to. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you guys would like to fly this route, I'll leave the screenshot of this stuff and as well as the coordinates for the two airplanes. I'm going to go look in the other airplane to get the actual coordinate of the plane so you guys can hopefully find it on your flight sim. I've got probably at least 100 or more flights on my Patreon page under the commercial tier where you guys can just recreate tons of my videos on your own, experience PNG at home. If you don't know how to fly and you'd like to learn how to fly, I've got a course that walks you through everything you need to know on flying, not only specifically the Kodiak, but tools that you can transfer over into any aircraft, on how to take off, how to start a plane, how to land a plane, how to set up for cruise, how to use the G1000, things like that. So I'll leave those links down below if you guys are interested. Hop and harness is done. November Tango Echo joining left base 35 right. Another 300 feet to descend.
Alpha Tango Echo. Continue approach, report canning base.
November Tango Echo, reporting gun base.
Apologies, sir. November Tango Echo.
I've got another about 100 feet yet to go, which we're trying to get to right at beam our numbers. We're just going to leave 10 degrees of flaps in all the way till we're turning base. We'll go 20 degrees in the turn. I shouldn't really even have to adjust my power kind of all the way down. I've got it at 400, which is pretty typical. Here we are at beam our numbers. We're about 40 feet low now, so I want to lose about 200 feet here, and then another, about 250, and then 250, and then turning final 500. There you go, 20 degrees. November Tango Echo, turning left base, 35 right.
November Tango Echo, runway 35 right, clear to land.
Clear to land 35 right, November Tango Echo. I'm a couple knots fast, so I'm just pulling my power, keeping the pitch, everything else the same. That will slow me on down those extra couple knots. I'm going to turn final 5,600 feet. There's full flaps, checklist is complete. There's 5,600, turning final. There's our 70 knots. I'm just going to bump my power in to hold that 70 knots. As I'm rolling back out, I don't need quite as much, so I'm just going to reduce the power. And as I'm slowing down, I'm getting that right rudder pressure in a lot, because this plane needs a lot of right rudder on landing. Our checklist is complete. Runway looks clear. And I'm just adjusting my power a little bit for that 70 knots. So if I'm a little tiny fast, I just pull a tiny bit of power out. Runway is clear. We're continuing. Guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm sorry I wasn't able to actually show you the plane on this particular flight, but definitely on one of my last flights. There you go, guys. See you guys next time.
Thanks Incogni for sponsoring this video.